The blockchain. We've heard many people talk about how the blockchain is going to transform and revolutionize industries, business, investments, purchases, but many people don't fully wrap their heads around it. I know I didn't for quite some time. So today we're going to talk about how blockchain is going to completely change real estate as we know it. And if you think that this is just hype, stick around because I'm going to show you exactly why it is so powerful, the real problems that it solves in a very clunky, inefficient, and expensive industry, and the big hurdles that it still has to get over before it actually becomes mainstream. Plus, at the end, I'm gonna share when I actually think this will go big, and you can let me know if you agree or disagree, because at the end of the day, being an early adopter, an early mover, is where you're gonna give yourself the best opportunities to capitalize on what is to come. Also, make sure to smash that like button for the algorithm. Let's get into it. What's going on, wise investors? Welcome back to the channel. So why does real estate even need the blockchain? Here's the deal. Real estate is the world's biggest asset class, and we have over $300 trillion globally in supply right now. But it's also probably the most broken or old school industry in the game. Many things that are long in the tooth that haven't been updated, optimized. It's expensive, it's slow, it's opaque, and it's a nightmare to buy or sell in a lot of ways. Now, we've just been desensitized to some of these challenges and issues, and yet this is where I believe some of the greatest opportunities for innovation and disruption are going to come. So let's say that you want to invest in a rental property in another state. You have to deal with agents, you have to deal with lawyers, you got to deal with escrow or title, depending on the state, banks, and it honestly takes anywhere from 1 to 3 to sometimes 5 or 6 months to get a deal done. Plus, you need tons of capital. You can't just buy $500 of a shopping center or an office building. It's just not possible in the way things are set up today. But with the blockchain, this can literally change all of those things. So let's talk about how the blockchain fixes real estate, because this is ultimately a theory and argument that many early adopters, many people playing in the blockchain and the crypto space, as well as many people in the real estate industry who understand that side of the fence, are saying this is why we believe this is the future of real estate. Number one is fractional ownership, and this is a big one. Blockchain lets you split a property into thousands of tiny digital shares. So instead of needing $500,000 to buy a building, you can literally invest. Now, it depends on the way they set up the investment structure and things like that. That's for another video. But you could literally invest $500 and own a fraction of that building without actually having to be the one to come up with all the necessary resources in order to own it. So this isn't just a theory. This is literally happening right now. You've got platforms that are tokenizing real estate on certain blockchains that allow you to own fractional ownership. Again, it hasn't received mass adoption, but we're seeing people right now, today, sell tokens of real buildings, giving people access to the advantages of owning that asset. It's like turning a building into a stock, theoretically. So tell me that if we were able to do this at scale, really efficiently and really simply, how that would change everything and revolutionize not only what's happening in the industry right now, but how many people would want to now be able to participate in the industry and get the benefits of it in ways that they just can't do right now, either because they don't understand or they don't have the necessary means based on the way the system and the structure is set up today. Now, number two is liquidity and secondary markets. Let's talk about liquidity because this is huge. Real estate is famously an illiquid asset. We know that unlike a stock where you can click a button and buy or sell, you can't do that with real estate. Once you invest, you're generally locked in for years. But with tokens, you can trade your ownership on secondary markets. So imagine being able to sell your stake in an apartment building that you owned as easily as you sell shares of, say, the Apple stock that you invested in. You get instant settlement. There's much lower fees. There's way more flexibility, which is obviously going to incentivize a lot of people to want to look at this asset class based on having more liquidity. And this is something that the blockchain solves. Third, you can cut out middlemen. Let's think about it this way. Today, you pay brokers, you pay lawyers, you pay escrow companies, you pay banks, thousands and thousands in fees just to be able to transact on real estate. And that's something that many people are saying is a bad thing for the industry, being that, of course, we need professionals and they are worthy of receiving the compensation based on the value they bring to the deal. But with the blockchain, many of these middlemen who are ultimately putting their hand out and saying, if you're going to pass by, you got to pay me this fee, those individuals or platforms, some of those needs completely go away with blockchain. Therefore, we have the ability to reduce expenses and costs to doing business just by doing it on the blockchain. Blockchain uses what we call smart contracts to automate all of that. So the transfers are instant, the terms are enforced automatically, and costs as a result are going to compress and drop dramatically as well. So it's like having an always-on digital escrow service that can basically never make mistakes, and we don't have to worry about many of the things we now worry about today. Now, number 4 is global investor access. And let's not forget this. Today, if you want to raise money for your property or for an investment deal that you are looking to take down, you're stuck with many local investors or expensive institutions or just access to your warm network that you can get these opportunities in front of. But blockchain, and it already is global and it's going to continue to become more and more global, you can now raise capital from investors anywhere in the world. Crypto holders, international investors, international investment groups and institutions, a whole new landscape of capital and investor relationships become available to you by being able to give access to real estate investments or real estate in general on the blockchain. So property owners can access a giant new pool of capital, which is a major benefit. This could be game-changing in times like tough lending markets or tough investing markets like we're seeing in this current landscape. Now, number 5, I think is really, really important, and this is something that we have a major problem with in the real estate industry, which is transparency and trust. Blockchain is an immutable ledger. That means every transaction, every ownership transfer is recorded forever. So no fake titles, no double selling, no shady backroom deals. Investors can verify ownership and see exactly what they're buying without all of the question marks or concerns that oftentimes are rampant in today's industry. This is a massive upgrade over the opaque systems we have today, especially with the big issues around frauds and scams that are multi-billion-dollar industries that end up in loss every single year. The last I would say is automated income distribution. So let's talk about getting paid. Today, if you invest in a property syndication, you wait for the quarterly emails, the wire transfers, and the manual statements, which, again, nothing wrong with that. But with blockchain, smart contracts can distribute rent income based on what that says automatically. So you get real-time payments. There's obviously going to be way lower admin costs to be able to service these requirements on your syndication or your investment deal with your investors. You're not chasing down wires. The ability to do this efficiently, effectively, and transparently is such a win not only to the property owners, but to the investors as a whole. It's a net win for everybody because we're going to save time and money, and investors are going to get paid faster. Now, the last thing I would say is built-in compliance. People worry that blockchain is the wild, wild west, which in many ways, because we haven't had mass adoption yet and many people still don't fully understand what it is, what it does, and how it does it, that there is still this concern that crypto and the blockchain as the wild, wild west. But here's what I would say is it doesn't have to be, and I think this is something that they're going to have to sort out. KYC or AML, know your customer, anti-money laundering, checks can be built into smart contracts. Accredited investor verifications can be automated, and jurisdictional rules, depending on where you're investing, what country, what state, those rules can be enforced on chain. So that's next level regulatory compliance, and it's programmable. This is something that they're still working through and going to need to sort out, but it's going to happen. Now, let's talk about the financial and efficiency benefits real fast. So, number one, real estate is a $300 trillion market. Even 1% tokenized is trillions of dollars. Property owners can unlock equity faster and cheaper, which is going to create way more liquidity and opportunity and incentive to want to come into the space. Investors get access to yield-bearing, inflation-hedged assets, which is a win. Transactions are going to settle in minutes instead of weeks, and costs are going to drop because middlemen, at least the ones that aren't necessarily needed anymore, are going to be cut out. So this isn't just a cryptocurrency thing. This is what I like to say, a massive fintech play and transformation here. And when you think about who is leading the charge here, I always like to pay attention to the big boys and the big girls and really see where things are headed. And right now, we've already seen some big players kind of do proof of concept in this space. For example, Red Swan has tokenized over $2 billion in commercial real estate already on chain. Realty lets you buy fractional shares of rental homes and get rent in stablecoins. A company called Mantra in the Middle East, I think they're based out of Dubai, is building a layer 1 chain just for real world assets. So think gold, literally any real world asset. You got Proppy is closing real estate transactions on chain with title recording. And these are just a few of the examples and companies that are out there with real users actually leveraging those platforms today. Now, again, these are early adopters, early brands, early movers. But that being said, it's already in motion, and therefore it's only going to be a matter of time. Now, we do have some hurdles that we still need to get over in order for this to become mainstream. Because at the end of the day, when you talk to most people about transacting real estate on chain, they would be like, what the hell are you talking about? But the issue is that we have some things that still need to be solved. There needs to be some education. There needs to be some infrastructure. There needs to be some legal issues that get sorted through. Regulatory complexity is a big one, right? Security tokens equals what? Securities loss. So the SEC is going to have to get involved here, give guidance, obviously regulate and oversee this to make sure that all of those things that are going to make this great are protected and in place. So you're going to need to KYC. You need anti-money laundering issues being resolved and addressed. Secondary trading requires licenses. In addition to, you need to have a secondary market for these tokens or these ownership assets to actually have demand to be purchased on a secondary market to create that liquidity, or else we're still stuck with the same issues, right? You can buy into a token, but if you can't sell it and nobody's willing to buy it, well, you're still illiquid, right? Different jurisdictions, depending on where in the world you're investing in, have different rules, different tax regulations that are going to need to be getting sorted through. And on that point of tax complexity, right? Crypto conversions triggers capital gains. So we need to find a way to address and resolve some of those issues. We need better tax reporting tools. In terms of the overall user experience, right? I feel like I'm relatively equipped to navigate some of the technological advances that are out there and that we're seeing right now. And even me getting into this space and deep diving, a lot of the times I'm like, man, this is kind of confusing, right? Which wallets, what seed phrases, it's still very, very technical. And therefore we need to simplify that. We need fiat on-ramps. We need custodial wallets. We need easy interfaces. Those are going to be some of the user experience issues that I believe are going to be a big hurdle, but once overcome, are going to create rapid adoption. Now, the liquidity paradox, tokenization alone doesn't guarantee buyers that we talked about in this secondary market, right? So we need market makers, we need exchanges, incentives for trading volume. The institutional trust is another big one. Property owners are conservative, right? So they are going to want to make sure that they've got security, they've got legal clarity, and proof that investors are actually going to show up and transact on chain before we ever see any of these big blockchains take over what is already kind of the staple of how we do business in the industry today. So when does this actually happen? When does this really go mainstream? We're seeing early adoption right now. Analysts project trillions in tokenized real estate by 2030 to 2035. Now, my view is we're probably still at a minimum 5, if not 10 years away from this shift actually happening. We are definitely in the early adopter phase. And just like the internet in 1998, right? The tech was real. The benefits were clear. So the winners will be those, in my opinion, who build trust, who can educate customers, who can solve compliance issues, and just really overall, as I said before, make this very simple and easy for normal people. You don't need to be a Wall Street person. You don't need to be some sophisticated and savvy investor. This needs to be simple enough for my grandma to be able to go online and buy a token and understand all of the benefits, see all the protections, and make it very simple and easy. So personally, I think the blockchain is inevitable in real estate. It's going to solve so many issues. It is the future. And not because it's crypto, but because it's the most logical fix from a technological standpoint for a very outdated industry. Fractional investing, liquidity, transparency, automation, those benefits are too good to ignore, especially with the issues that we know are running rampant in real estate today. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of smart people. It's going to take really quality execution and trust building to get there. And I believe that leaves us with at least a 5 to 10 year runway in front of us. I'm curious, what do you think? Is blockchain going to change real estate? Is this timeline going to be sooner or longer than I just noted? Or is this just all hype and we're going to see this go away? I'm curious. Drop your thoughts in the comments section down below. Let's talk about it, because I believe the more we can continue to collaborate and work through many of these issues and brainstorm on these issues, 1, we're going to get to take advantage of them. 2, we're going to get to shape them. And 3, we're going to get to make a big impact along the way. Now, if you got value from this, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. I'm putting out at least 1 video a day right now, if not multiple videos a week. As always, I'm Matty A. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.